this week in Grace's Girls Club, we're kind of diving into a little bit of an industry that we've touched around the surface of, but we haven't really gotten much into this industry. So I want to introduce you to our special guest, Allisyn. Allisyn, welcome to Grace's Girls Club. Please introduce yourself, tell us your title and the company you work for.
Okay. Hi, I'm Allisyn Hudson. I work for a company called Magnolia River Services Incorporated, but we call it Magnolia River. And I am the Director of GIS Services for Utilities at Magnolia.
So walk me through a little bit about what Magnolia River does. I know you're based out of Hudson, but just tell me a little bit about the company's day-to-day.
Okay. So Magnolia River is a national provider of technology-enabled professional and field services. We support major utilities across the gas, water, electric, and renewable sectors. Our company, as Grace said, was established in 2000 in Hartselle, Alabama, and has grown dramatically over the past 25 years. We now serve clients in over 40 states, deploying innovative solutions focused on supporting efficient, effective, and safe operations for our utility clients. So Magnolia River is actually structured into 4 primary divisions. We have an engineering division, inspection, GIS, and our technology division, which develops our proprietary software solutions. So I, as I mentioned, serve as the director of GIS. I support our utility clients by leading our GIS business operations, projects, programs, and our team. My day-to-day responsibilities are pretty diverse and dynamic. They include engaging with clients, developing innovative solutions for spatial data challenges, writing proposals, managing business financials, and ensuring the safe and successful delivery of projects with a focus on quality and timeliness. I also stay closely connected to industry standards and emerging technologies to align our services with the evolving needs and business cases of our clients.
That is so cool. It sounds like you stay fairly busy.
I do. Very, very busy.
It sounds like it. So GIS is kind of that sweet spot new industry where it's a lot of science, a lot of technology, and then some significant engineering components as well as, of course, as well as math. Which of those letters do you think you use the most, or is it really an even blend?
I would say it's a pretty even blend. So GIS, or Geographic Information Systems, is deeply connected to computer science. It's a computer-based system used to capture, store, analyze, and visualize geographic data. Essentially, it connects location data, so where I am, where you are, where inanimate things are, and connects that with descriptive information to help us see and understand patterns across space and time. But it's not limited to computer science. GIS plays a critical role in a wide range of scientific research, from modeling and tracking hurricanes and disease outbreaks to predicting the migration patterns of animals, studying our oceans, and powering everyday applications like Google Maps and Apple Maps. As mentioned, the field of GIS is constantly evolving with advancements in both software and mobile technologies. Today, in my work, we use mobile GIS applications and GPS-enabled devices in the field to collect real-time data. We specifically do that with our utility infrastructure, but whether you're mapping fire hydrants in a city or tracking rhinoceroses in the African bush, which I have done, it's still a very pretty deep technological platform. Also, in regard to engineering, I may personally connect to engineering a little bit less, but at Magnolia River, we do work really closely with our engineering division to support the design of new utility systems and to document the precise locations of all the constructed assets. And GIS can also be used to model the most efficient routes or optimal locations for new water or gas or electric infrastructure. Now, math Absolutely. I use it every single day. It's embedded in GIS tools through mathematical algorithms and spatial analytic techniques. And it's also essential for me for managing the business side of our work, from budgets to performance metrics.
Exactly. That was such a great explanation. I mean, I think that hit on so many of the points. I was speaking with some of the team of meteorologists over at NASA a while back, and they're recently getting into global GIS. And so we were looking at some different burn signatures from wildfires in California, several others across the continent of Africa, and they were saying they use it because before they leave, they see exactly what's there. They know what supplies they need and where to deploy it, and that way they have a plan before they're ever boots on the ground. And that's a lot of what you're talking about.
Mhm. Absolutely. And actually, before coming to Magnolia River, I worked for the US Geological Survey up in Washington, D.C., and also with NASA on a program that was helping to support developing countries in safe agricultural practices.
That is so cool. There's so many things you can do with GIS. So let's say I'm a little girl at home and I'm watching, and this is just so exciting, and I want to be just like you when I grow up. Walk me through educationally how you got to where you are today, and then what advice you might have for girls looking to follow in your footsteps.
Okay. So I actually came to GIS in a really roundabout way. I have a bachelor's of science in ecology and wildlife biology. After graduating from college, I worked for the San Diego Zoo as a field researcher in South Africa, studying the reproductive biology of white rhino. And when I returned, I took a job with a telecommunications company, and I was actually on my second day handed this software package and told to implement their GIS. And I had never even heard of GIS at that point. So initially, I was completely self-taught. But as I started getting a really good understanding of the power of the technology, I began thinking of how incredible it would be to use this technology in environmental studies, like I had been doing in Africa and in my undergrad in South America. And that really spawned me going into graduate school and getting my master's and my PhD at Virginia Tech in geospatial and environmental analysis. So overall, me specifically, I had 4 years of undergrad, 2 for my master's, 3 for my PhD, and I would say about 1 self-teaching. So totally 10 years. However, I'm going to say you can start in GIS in high school, you can get a GIS certification, you can get an associate's degree or a 4-year degree and be just as successful and knowledgeable.
That's a great point. So it sounded like, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I don't want to say the wrong thing. It sounds like a lot of your master's, your PhD was in specific areas. Like, yes, it was GIS, but it was very, very niche focused. If that's something that these students would like to do, maybe that's their path. But if they want something a little more broad, like you said, the associates or certification or things like that might be a better path. Is that what I'm understanding?
Exactly. And often I find that people start maybe in an environmental field because that's something that our younger generation and my generation is really passionate about. But really, when you're working with GIS, it's points, lines, and polygons. That's what we say. So it can pretty much be applied to any field. So however your life kind of evolves, or your career evolves, or your interests evolve, GIS is applicable across the board.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what made you choose Magnolia River? After all this education, all this experience, after South African rhinos, what made you choose the mission at Magnolia River?
So honestly, I actually returned to Alabama to take care of my mother. And Alabama, at that time, there weren't a lot of environmentally driven research projects going on that were GIS focused. And so I started looking around. I found Magnolia River. They were a woman-owned company, which I thought was really fantastic. Still are really passionate about promoting their female employees and supporting them in their career. And I loved that it was a new challenge, something different for me. I'm looking at a different perspective of that kind of GIS market and sector. And, one of the things that we're really focused on at Magnolia River is safety and making sure that utilities operate in a safe manner. And that means that it keeps us safe as, the population, and it keeps their own internal employees safe. And so the work that we do really supports that. And that makes me proud.
As it should. What an incredible mission to get behind. So, would you say that's the best part of your job, kind of aiding in that safety, or is there something else that you enjoy more? Or I should say most.
So that is definitely one component of it for sure. The best part of my job is really knowing that I'm making a difference. I love when we implement a solution that truly helps a client, whether it's solving a problem, creating efficiencies, making their job and their day easier, of course, enhancing safety. And all of these things really tie together to ultimately benefit us as energy consumers. One of the most rewarding moments is seeing that spark of excitement when someone begins to understand the power of GIS as they discover more of what it can do for them and their organization. Their enthusiasm really starts to grow, and it's absolutely contagious. I also love the opportunity to build innovative custom approaches to complex challenges. There's a creative side to GIS that feels like an art form. It's fun, it's challenging, and it's incredibly fulfilling to see a solution come to life and the real impact that it has.
That's so cool. You kind of touched on something in saying that never fails to come up in Grace's Girls Club interviews. Every single woman in STEM, whether it's medical, whether it's GIS, tech, meteorology, whatever, all of us talk about the importance of being able to creatively problem solve, and that is the basis of every STEM field across the board.
Absolutely.
So cool. So is since that's maybe one of the better part of your jobs, what's maybe the most challenging or the most difficult part?
So it is really technologically intense. So we do a lot of troubleshooting and solution development for our clients. In any given day, we can be addressing a dozen different challenges that can range from a server being offline to scripting a data migration task to assessing the client's existing capabilities and building out a roadmap for how they move forward and overcome their own internal challenges. So there's a lot of moving parts. We wear a lot of different hats on any single day. And I love that. I find it, exciting, but there are times when it can be a little bit overwhelming, trying to kind of juggle all of those different plates. But in the end, it's completely worth it.
Yeah, that's so cool. So I want to ask you this. I've actually never asked this question before, but with GIS, it seems perfect. Give me a roadmap to a person that would be perfectly suited for your industry. So like for me, I would say if you want to be a meteorologist, very math heavy, very like thermodynamics heavy, manage your time well, TV is demanding, and someone who enjoys taking complex science and making it simple for Gen Pop. What would your roadmap for someone to be successful in GIS be?
I would say being curious. The one of the things that I love most about GIS is that from a very young age, I was fascinated by patterns, and GIS is the perfect technology for analyzing and visualizing patterns. So if you have questions about the world, if you want to be able to look at phenomenon at a large spatial scale over time, so what we call spatiotemporal, and I know, Grace, you've mentioned that as well, that term, working in your field. If you, there, I think just having a wonder for not only the environment, but a wonder for the world around us and for the people in our communities, because GIS can really be used in so many different ways to answer questions. If you're interested in programming, in visualization, those are all things that are really important in the field of GIS. That's a really great question. It's not one that I thought about in such a kind of distinctive, descriptive way, but I hope I answered it
I
appropriately.
think you did. I think that was so inspiring. I think every single girl at home is going to go, oh, that's me. I want to do GIS now. That's awesome. And I like that. I like that a lot too. So one last question for you, Allisyn. I know how busy you are. I want to let you get back to your day, but if you had a message to inspire the next generation, young girls, young students in general that would want to be in STEM one day, what would your message to them be?
So I would say to all the brilliant young girls out there dreaming of a future in STEM, never let anyone tell you that science, technology, engineering, and math are not for you. The world needs your voice. We need your creativity and your curiosity. Every discovery starts with a question, and your question matters. You belong in labs, in space agencies, at tech startups, really at the front lines of innovation. Your ideas can change the world, and your passions can inspire others to follow. Be bold, be brave, be relentless, and know that your future is limitless. It may not be easy all the time. The journey may not be a straight line like it was with mine. I was all over the place, but it will be worth it. And know that you won't be walking it alone. We will be here cheering you on every step of the way, because you are not only the future of STEM, but really you're the future of everything.
Oh, I just got chills. Oh, it's so beautiful. Oh, I love
Oh,
that.
that's how I truly feel that way.
It's so true. It's so true. I just loved every bit of that. I was talking to someone probably several months ago, and she's fairly high up in the civilian side of Army engineering. And we were talking about, you're being promoted as an engineer within the Army. That's some pretty rough and tough stuff. And she said, but never discount your soft skills and exactly how much women belong at this table. And that's essentially exactly what you said, is you belong here. We need your voice, your input. That was beautiful. I loved that.
Thank you. No, she's so right. And actually, that's a really great point. Soft skills are so important in today's world. I mean, you can have all the intelligence imaginable, but if you have difficulties kind of communicating that and engaging with people, and if you don't have necessarily that level of emotional intelligence, it can be challenging to come up, because we do face some hurdles, being a woman and being in this field.
Absolutely. Well, Allisyn Hudson from Magnolia River, thank you so much for being here. Welcome officially to Grace's Girls Club.
Thank you. I'm super duper excited. I really have so much respect for you, Grace, and what you do in promoting young girls and the STEM community. And I am so proud and honored to be a part of the club.
Well, that means so much to me. It is such a blessing to be a small piece of sending all of your messages out there. Well, thank you. We're so glad you're a part of GGC. I can't wait for them to hear your wisdom and your expertise. And I hope you have a great day.